Welcome back to MVM. Today we have a Kickstarter preview. This one is for the next role player game, so get excited if you've played that before. This one, however, is called LockUp, and it's a worker placement game for 1 to 5 players, so a little bit different.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I mean, it is a thematic sequel to Role Player. It takes place in the same universe, same graphic design, same characters, same look, but completely different gameplay.
So in this one, each of the players is going to represent a different clan. You have the insectoids, the bugbears, the goblins. The idea is that you've all been out raiding the kingdom. The kingdom has actually captured you, and you're all locked in this prison. And there's no escape from this prison. It's all about trying to gain the most reputation through 6 rounds.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool thematic idea. I mean, they have a whole story in the book about this prison that's, you know, no one can escape.
Yep. The victory points you're going to score are from objectives. You also score victory points from items and other different things throughout the course of the game. But it's all about worker placement. So each of the different clans is going to have 6 different crew members in front of them. These crew members range in numeric value from 2 to 5. And then you have 2 extra ones. That one is an enforcer, whose strength is always dependent upon the amount of power you have. And then you also have a lookout, who's able to negate the suspicion that you're creating within the prison itself.
And I think we should definitely say that this is a prototype.
Yeah.
So all these components are not final. The way that these tokens look is not final. And so we have a lot of the components already set up on the board, as if the game was already in progress, and we have our resource pools set up here.
So there's 4 different types of resources. You have poison, you have potions, you have iron, and then you have gold. You have goons, which are some of the other baddies within the prison. You'll be recruiting some of these goons to your side or your tableau because they give you set collection at the end of the game. Also, just like Role Player, you have a number of different items that you'll be able to purchase with the different resources that you have. Most of them are going to give you instant one-time abilities. They're also going to give you a number of reputation, and some of them are even counted with those goons towards set collection at the end of the game.
Yeah, and so when you set up the board, everybody gets one of the player boards, one of these cool little cell blocks that hide your guys. If you'll notice, some of your guys are placed face down.
Yeah.
So other players at the table aren't ever going to know exactly what you have remaining in your cell block.
Also, you're going to have a player board. The player board itself is going to have a number of different things. Across the top is the number of resources that you're able to carry over from one round to the next. You can carry 5 over. Anything you have over 5 is going to be lost. You have power, and then you have suspicion. The power is going to be directly related to the power of your enforcer, or the strength of your enforcer. And the suspicion is totaled by the number of black cubes that you collect. As you do things within the game, you're going to gain the suspicion of the guards within the prison itself. And when there's a raid block, it's going to affect you directly, and we'll talk about that.
You definitely don't want to have the most suspicion.
Exactly. And then you have a place for your items and your goons as well. So
yeah, and the last thing you'll do when you're set up is lay out 3 scoring cards, which there are 3 different types of scoring cards. You use one of each. There's an instant card. As soon as someone meets that condition, they get it.
Yep.
There's an award, which will actually pass around the table. It might say something like have the most of a certain goon.
Yeah.
I could, you know, we could pass that and steal it from each other. And then there's one that's only awarded at the end of the game.
So how does the game work? It's very simple. There's 9 different locations on this board. They're all 9 different worker placement spots. One of the locations, number 9, isn't actually a worker placement spot. We'll explain that one in a moment. But on a turn, you're allowed to take any of your 6 goons and place them in any number of locations on the table. Now, the trick is you're going to go in turn order around the table until everyone's placed their goons. You can place 1, you can place 2, you can place all of them if you so wish. So there's some jockeying on what you see other players playing and what strength values they play in locations, but the trick here is out of the 6 different crew members that you have, 2 of them during that entire round can be placed face down. So the timing of when you place those and which ones you use are secret to the other players. So you could place a 5 down secret at the very start and then only reveal at the very end that you've placed a 5 in that location, or vice versa. It really depends on how you wish to attain or gain the rewards in those locations.
Yeah, and I like that you can really stack up your guys, put them all in one location, and guarantee you're going to win it or spread them out. But you can only go to each location one time.
Right. So this whole phase is called the roll call phase. This is when each player is placing their guys down until all the players have been placed. Next, we do the lights out phase. This is where, in numerical order, starting with the exercise yard, we're going to reveal the tokens and add up the strength in each of these different locations. Any of the tokens that are face down are going to be turned face up. And it's simple math. I mean, this couldn't be easier. Blue is going to win the location. We have 3 and then
1, because you start with a 1 power.
Yeah, everyone has 1 power at the start of the game, so their enforcer is a 1 power. You're going to gain the rewards according to whatever is here. So first player is going to gain 1 power. It's placed on their actual player board, meaning that now their enforcer's worth 1 additional power when he's counted into any of these regions. Second place, he's also going to get the first place marker, and then second place will get it. The third place marker, in this case yellow, gets nothing. And there's a lot of different locations where players are going to get nothing. When that happens, they slide all the way down to that library itself. And you're going to keep doing each of these different locations one at a time, gaining the rewards. And we'll talk about each of these different locations right now because they're important to what you're trying to do within the game.
So there are a couple different spots like the sewers, the infirmary, and the smithy that just give you resources, the basic resources of the game. You'll notice though, sewers, everyone gets a cube no matter what.
Yeah.
In the infirmary, only the first and last place get a cube. So whoever's in the middle slides over to the library. And then in the smithy, only the top 2 players get resources there. So they are a little different in each mechanic.
Yep. So next is the commissary. Now the commissary is the only place in the game that you're allowed to gain gold. And gold's very valuable because you want to trade in for some of the items. First place will get a gold. Second place will be able to trade in any one resource for any other resource that they have. And then everyone else at the table is going to be able to trade 2 for 1. So again, there's a jockeying for position to see whoever can do it more. So now one of the things we failed to mention, in each of these locations, there may be suspicion in that location, either from that turn or from a previous turn. You'll notice these black cubes in some of these locations. They're introduced from the goons. Anytime you see a goon that has one of these, they've been introduced into that specific location. The person with the most strength will collect that suspicion, and they will collect it onto their player board. That's very important because if there's ever a point where there's no more suspicion that can be placed on the board, remember there's only 10 of them out. If the one cannot be placed when a goon is introduced, a raid is going to happen. We'll talk about raids in a moment as well. But anyway, in this situation, you finish that out and then you go to the chow hall.
Yeah, and the chow hall is your chance to recruit these goons. Basically, I guess since they're all hanging out eating, you can recruit goons from any spot on the board, not just that spot. You pay based on your position. So first player is going to get the best pick. They can either buy 1 goon for 1 resource cube or 2 goons for 4 resource cubes.
And it keeps going down.
And then it just gets worse and worse for the remaining players.
The cell block is the location to be able to buy the items in the game. Now, anytime you buy items, you have to discard whatever is on the bottom of the card. So if I'm looking at this dimensional bag that we have here, I'd have to discard these type of resources at the bottom, and I would immediately get 20 reputation. That's quite a bit of reputation.
A lot of reputation.
Plus, I'd be able to grab one of the books from the library itself. I'll explain what that does in a moment. And again, you're going to do this in turn order, depending on where you fall in that position. Everybody that goes to that location, luckily enough, is going to be able to buy something from there. But they don't refill right then. They're only going to refill at the end of the round, so it's first come, first serve for sure.
Yeah, you kind of watch the table, see what resources people are collecting, and they might try to buy that item right out from under you.
Exactly.
And then after the cell block, you have the guard room. You can basically go to the guard room, schmooze with the guards, and lose some of your suspicion. And that suspicion goes back into the pool and decreases your chance of having a raid.
Exactly. And the final spot is all the people that didn't get something from the spots where they were locked out from getting something. They slide down to that library, and then you're going to look at the strength in that library. First player is going to draw the top 2 cards, pick one of them, put the other one in the discard pile, and then the second and third player are just going to take one off the top. These are all types of cards that allow you one-time benefits or allow you to foil other people's plans or change strength values. A variety of different things come out of that deck.
Yeah, there's no way to cover all of them. They do so many different things.
So what happens during a raid block? Let's talk about that.
Well, yeah, so at the end of the round, once you've all done that, you collect your guys back and you replace the goon. So any goon that was bought is replaced. Any goon that made it to the end is discarded. Every time a new goon comes out with that black cube marker, we put another suspicion out. So you could have no suspicion come out one round, or you could have a bunch. So as soon as you go to place one and you can't, this is the phase when they will raid the cell block. And so when a raid happens, you look at the suspicion that you had on your player board. Whoever has the least amount of suspicion is going to get 8 reputation, which is quite a bit. So you want to make sure that you have the least suspicion. Second place is going to get a little 4. And then if you have more than that, you don't get any points. So
and then all the suspicion gets returned. You're going to keep doing that for 6 total rounds until the end of the game. Now, as we said, there's a variety of different ways to score victory points. Your main ways to score victory points in this game are from the item cards, which are huge. You want to be collecting resources round after round. So there's times you want to pump strength into each of these resource bases to collect a variety of different resources so that when new ones come up, new items come up, you have the right kind of flexibility to buy what you need. You're also going to get victory points from the goons, because at the end of the game, you're going to look at all the different goons that you have in front of you. Each of these goons, or most of these goons, are going to give you some sort of set collection for having a specific number of Ratman, a specific number, the most dwarves, and so forth throughout the game.
Yeah, it's interesting that every one of these goons scores differently. It's not like whoever has the most of each category gets X points. Like the Ratman, if you just have one Ratman, you get negative points. You have to have at least 2 to even score points, whereas the dwarves are set collection. Others, like the cultists, trigger on having different items and things like that. And every card also has symbols. And some of these goons require you to have specific symbols within your items.
Yeah, exactly. Also, you're going to get rewards for the end of game scoring. Every single magic card that you didn't use at the end of the game is going to score you victory points. Each of your resources is going to score you a victory point, and your gold is going to score you 2 victory points. The person with the most victory points is going to win. That's basically the game. It's very simple to play. The majority of the strategy in this game comes from the fact of trying to deduce what other players need at any given time and how much power or strength they're going to pump into that location, and then trying to foil their plans by putting your guys face down or tricking them in other locations to gain those specific benefits.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I mean, the fact that you have to dedicate your force when you place, you can never go back and add more to your force.
That's huge.
You really have to think about it, especially when you come to like the 3s and 4s. You know, you could load up a ton of guys into one spot thinking there's going to be a huge competition, and every other player just ignores that spot.
Yeah.
So if you put too much, you've wasted it. But if you put too little, someone else can come in and take that spot away from you. So it's very interesting.
Make sure you guys check out the Kickstarter for all the goodies. Of course, they'll have the final design, the final components, and everything else. If you like role player, check out this one, of course. Subscribe to us, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and everything else that we do. And we will catch you guys next time.